folks, and welcome back to RPG Fans Retro Encounter, and today we are an exploration into the world of Planescape Torment. I am your host, Keegan Lee, and with me here is the lovely and fantastic Robert Fenner.
As tormented as ever, glad to be here.
Oh yeah, we've by the end of this game, I feel like we've all suffered a very bittersweet torment.
It has been a real ride.
Oh man,
a ride like no other.
This is my problem I have a lot with these morality games, is that I know how many different endings there are, but because I like the quote-unquote good ending, I just keep going back to it and never getting to experience more of it. Being bad makes me feel bad.
Yeah, this is the type of game that it always gives me pause making those bad decisions, you know? So...
Oh, and I feel like in the second half of the game, we really get to see some of the more vile decisions that can occur here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about where we left off last time. So we got through the Alley of Lingering Sighs, and now we've wound
brought a new life into the world.
Yes, we helped an alley give birth, if you will. Life finds a way. Try my best on that one.
playing the midwife to a street.
But after going through the alley, we end up in the lower wards, which is where we see more of the common folk and everyman of Sigil here. Would you agree?
Yeah. What really stuck out at me at first at the lower wards was like, okay, it must be like like Lowtown. But no, it's called that because there's all these portals that lead to the lower planes, which are like this chaotic hellscape, and all this like polluted air and like billowing disease is coming through. So when you speak to the people who live in the lower wards, they've all got like yellowish skin and pustules oozing off them, and it's a bad time in the lower ward.
I love that story about all the lower plane demons coming in that the Nameless One may or may not be responsible for.
Yeah, and sometimes they just stay and hang out.
Yeah. The rule of this game is if you hear a story and you go, oh man, that sounds horrible, it was probably your fault.
Yeah, that seems to be the case 9 times out of 10 in this game.
But I feel like we get a lot more side quests here too in the lower wards, similar to what we get in the Smoldering Corpse area and what have you from the top of the Sigil.
I mean, I'd be hard pressed to call some of them side quests. I know you can just like steamroll through as chaotic evil if you want.
Oh yeah,
but it seemed like this is kind of like where the game started to slow down and almost pad things out a bit with like chains of deals and having to, do favors for somebody to do favors for somebody else and then end up, back on the critical path. I probably would have gotten annoyed with this if the writing wasn't so strong here.
That's fair. There's definitely a lot of fetch questy type quests here.
But it's
like I can't tell you how many times I went into the vault just to get items for a single quest.
Oh yeah.
And go back out. Probably could have planned that out better, but that's just me. But we do get some cool interactions, like our longtime and first companion, Mort, getting kidnapped by a bunch of were-rats the second that we entered.
Oh yeah, it's the first thing that happens, huh? He just gets spirited away.
We get distracted by a clothes merchant, and then our talkative skull gets taken.
Is the clothes merchant in on this? Is that the racket? Is that what's supposed to be implied? Because the clothes merchant just disappears.
It could have been, but when dealing with the character who is responsible for taking Mort in the end, I feel like he's not that shady of a person.
I mean? He's quite a powerful wizard, so you wouldn't think he'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this little flim-flam on the street and distract you with my fine leather jackets. Yeah, really.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, though, we are talking about one of the important NPCs of the game, the Master of Bones. Who is a master of bones, if you could not figure it out by the name.
He's in the bone zone.
Yes, oh goodness. Phrasing. Anyways. He is currently holding our good friend Mort captive in a giant room full of skulls.
Full of really grumpy skulls, yeah.
Yes, they're very grumpy. But they offer very interesting tidbits about certain aspects of the game. And even depending on your faction, you can learn different things from these skulls. Like I know if you're an anarchist, you can actually find out from a deceased anarchist that now resides on the wall.
Yeah.
Cool things like that. So, to get Mort out, the Master of Bones requires from us a skull of equal or greater value. Now, when I did it, I already had Soego's, I believe that's how you pronounce the name, his skull from his were-rat body.
I was playing, Salome with John the Baptist's head. So, when I saw that Suego dropped his head, I was like, well, this is kind of fun to carry around, and I bet I'm going to have to use it somewhere. So, fortunately, I didn't have to do any backtracking for that. So, yeah, I had it as well. But I imagine that things can probably get a little bit dicey on a skull quest if you either forgot that was there or managed to lose it. It sounds like you can get skulls elsewhere, and not the regular skulls. They have to be special skulls.
Oh yeah.
But sounds like you might have to embark on some quite nasty quests to fulfill that.
Yeah, this game will punish you if you don't keep items in your inventory, even things that you think are pretty minuscule.
Yeah, I really wish that they gave you more space.
Yes. Like, for example, cutting a little ahead, one of your party members, Ignis, can teach you spells. And to get his final spell, you need a random pile of intestines that I don't even remember when I acquired them.
Oh, are they your own intestines?
They might be. All I know is I didn't have them.
Okay. I've been carrying around the intestines. I didn't end up using it because I stayed as thief. But Marta in the buried village, I asked her to do some surgery and find a ring that was tangled up in my guts, and she ended up removing my guts as well. And I've just been carrying them around ever since.
I couldn't remember if it was a Marta or the tiefling woman you meet at the very beginning of the game in the mortuary.
Oh yeah, her. Yeah,
I knew it was one of those two, but
and as we'll find as we move on a little bit later in this episode, those two are two sides of the same coin.
Yes, it's a very interesting connection they make. That makes sense. Does not feel hand waved.
Yeah, not at all. It's very well foreshadowed.
Yeah. But once we have Mort back, give a proper skull. You can also use the were-rats that are in the basement of the Master of Bones house. They also contain a very interesting item that I was wondering if you had gotten or not.
I kind of left those guys alone because dealing with were-rats was a big pain in my side due to them only taking damage from magical weapons and spells. So,
well, to be honest, this item is really only a boon if you're playing as an evil character.
Okay, which I was not. Is this something that Mantuak has by any chance?
Yes, it is.
What is this?
It is a tome similar to the Necronomicon of other fantastical tales.
I heard about this from the Skull.
Yes, and basically what it will do is it will give you fantastic power, but it requires you to do some horrible stuff, accumulating in you having to kill one of your own companions. Yes, the power is great, but it is a high cost. Yeah, so I've never gone down this path. I've only read about it on wikis and what have you. But
I'm kind of curious. I mean, it sounds like it'd be really painful, but this game has such potential for being a jerk.
Yes. So wait till we get to the Pillar of Skulls.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
That is where the boys become men and the men fall to tears. All right. So were there any other side quests that you really liked in this area? Because my personal favorite involved the Tomb Maker and his zombie best friend.
Yeah, I loved that as well. It was pretty sad, but...
It's sad, but...
funny at the same time.
It's kind of funny.
Really, really funny.
For those of you who have not experienced this quest, it's pretty simple. It basically involves the Tomb Maker's son, whose best friend is a zombie, yet the Tomb Maker's son is not aware that this man is a zombie. And his only purpose in existence is to just sit there and listen to the son talk nonstop. And when you meet the zombie, he just begs you to kill him. And it's one of the times where killing him is not an evil action.
Yeah, he tells you his story if you've got the the stories bones tell technique, and he's like, my master, a wizard, he was tired of the Tomb Maker's son walking around town and just talking nonstop, so he raised me from the dead, and now everybody in town is happy, but I am here and I am sad all the time. So you have to break this. If you choose, you can break this spell on him, and like he just crumbles into dust, saying "Thank you."
It's just the little stories that entertain me so much in this game.
I did the slave auction side quest as well.
That is a good one too. Oh, you probably had a fun time with that since you were a thief character. Am I correct?
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't do any real deception. I think I just made friends with Lenny in the end, and we came to a bit of a gentleman's agreement. This character Byron Pickett, he's a money lender, and he lent some money to a shop owner who had recently passed away, but the shop owner had paid him back, and Byron Pickett absconded with the notes, the note that the debt had been paid, and did so the widow's wife would either have to pay up or be sold into slavery. And you can do some digging around to find that Byron made this happen, and to I guess snitch on him to the guards, really. But
pretty much, yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like snitching when they absolutely deserve it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That's another. It sounds weird after what you said to say cute part of the quest, but when you're telling one of the guards, did you do the
I helped the guard find love.
Yes, it's so sweet. In the second half of this quest, because of course you can just get the slave woman freed, just show them the papers that there was deception. You don't have to accuse Pickett, but it definitely does give you more experience in the long run.
Well, I wanted him off the streets, really.
Well, yeah. But anyways, to accuse Pickett and put him behind bars, there is a guard that you find in the marketplace of the lower wards. And he's very conflicted because he sees this very talkative woman who's just constantly going around the marketplace, even talking to you and just nonstop rattling off.
Yeah.
He's adorable because she just gets embarrassed because of how much she talks. And you can actually help them meet each other. And not only do you help love win, but you also get a friend in the Harmonium Guards, which is not a bad perk.
He starts giving you the info on the down low of all the movers and shakers in the lower ward.
It's a cute moment. But yeah, even though I wish some more of the specific side quests, not like that sounds so weird to say, but like the specific one-off episodes, if you will, of Planescape Torment. Yeah. I wish they had more effect on the main story. Yeah. I would love to see more resolutions of these events,
shaping your character and maybe, coming into play later. Because I mean, a few of them do, but it would be nice to see a little bit more going on there. There was one side quest here that I didn't end up doing because I felt like they missed a trick, really. It was the problem between the mage Sebastian and the demon Grosuk, where Sebastian entered into a contract to help Grosuk find a way into this siege tower that seemed to have no entrance. And he can't fulfill that request because he doesn't know how to get into the tower, and he gave up. So he wants us to kill Grosuk. So you can either do that or you can rat Sebastian out to Grosuk. Anyway, one of them has to die. But while puttering around and deciding what I wanted to do, I found a way into the siege tower. And the way in is to suppress all desire to want to get in, and that is the key to the portal. And then I talked to both of them, and I couldn't tell either of them how to get into the tower. And I felt like, surely you'd think that sharing that knowledge would be a way for this quest to articulate and wrap up non-violently. But no such luck.
No, you're right. You've been a really good conclusion to it, you know?
Yeah.
Even if they made you do a wisdom or intelligence check just to tell them.
Yeah. But, alas. That's just a small nitpick, really.
I murdered that demon just so I could get prettier. Your reward from helping Sebastian in the end is a +1 or 2 to charisma, I believe.
Okay.
One of those two.
Right.
He basically says, I can't make you prettier, but I can help you be more convincing.
Yeah, I got a similar hand from somebody in the brothel who stopped me from stinking so much. It's just very funny.
The brothel is such an interesting place. So located in the clerk's ward, which is adjacent to the lower ward, and I'd say this is really the hoity-toity area of Sigil. You've got fantastical creatures that won't kill you, unlike the lower areas. Mystical oddities, what have you. And you also have the brothel for slating intellectual lusts.
This is a fun area.
The brothel in Planescape Torment involves no sexual interaction whatsoever. Instead, it is a place for those wanting to expand their mind and not even just acquire information, but to have themselves challenged and stimulated in a way that really makes their brains work. And I think that's it's cool, you know?
I mean, it still ties into like a few like not great stereotypes about role-playing games, since like all of the madams are, well, they're all madams. It's only lady brothel workers, which I thought they kind of missed a trick there, and it felt a little felt a little horny in places. But
you're neglecting the one man who has changed himself into an armoire and refuses to tell anybody else about it.
Yeah, but he doesn't work there. He's just a perv.
He's part of the establishment at this point.
Well, basically, yeah. But yeah.
No, that's definitely... You're right there. I do agree with that.
I mean, it's a fantasy world. You'd think they would... Well, I don't know. I think it's a 20-year-old game. It's
yeah, right. I was going to say, it might... And I hate to use the phrase, but say it's a sign of the times, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I do feel like... If this was a 2018 game, I would have definitely noticed that much more.
Most definitely.
However, what I did notice is the wonderful madam, if you will, of this brothel falls from grace.
Yeah. Boy, did she make Anna mad in my party.
Oh, just wait till you travel with them.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
It's very much of a fight. But falls from grace is a potential party member for the Nameless Ones group. She is a chaste succubus. I'll let those two words sink in for a while. Now, a chaste succubus is something I've never seen in any other form of entertainment, whether it be books, movies, video games, what have you. And I really like how well it fits the thought of torment for all these characters. Because everyone that joins your party genuinely is a tormented soul. We have Dakon, who's a slave, whose race hates above everything else being enslaved. Yeah, Anna, who's a child of the streets, part human, part tiefling, so not really fitting in anywhere. And then you have a succubus who fights against her very nature of what it means to be a succubus.
Yeah.
Like, these poor party members, man.
They are drawn to you.
I feel like the only one who's having a grand old time is really Ignis, and
even then, I mean, that just seems like it's on
not a grand old time for anyone else.
That's an entirely different plane of torment, really. But it's one that's kind of he's peculiar, Ignis.
I think we mentioned a little bit of him on the last episode.
I did go back and get him.
Ignis is another potential party member. Yes, I picked him up for a little bit just to get his spells that he can teach you. Because some of them are fantastic, but who do they hurt? In a game where we've been doing random stuff to acquire, HP or stat upgrades, it's very have to actually be punished in a way to get stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really punishes the exploration. Although they do give you fair warning that it's going to hurt to learn from Ignis.
Yeah.
Did we even mention that he's nothing but flames?
Yeah, we didn't, because I didn't really expect that. I mean, I probably should have from the name and how you see him, but I figured that using that decanter of water on him would free him from his flame prison. But no, not at all. It just wakes him up enough to have him go on a journey with you, and like his girlfriend who asks you to free him. He gives her a big hug and just turns her into ash immediately. And it's like, oh,
that part
man.
made me really sad.
That was sad, yeah.
But, so Ignis is a former student of a previous incarnation of the Nameless One who set fire to many areas of the wards. You actually hear this story earlier in the game. And pretty much every magical practicer of Sigil, whether they be high-class mages or just general hedge witches or what have you, came together to imprison Ignis into the plane of fire, thinking it was kind of a just desserts, Yeah. You set everything on fire, you get sent to the fire. Turns out that was the best thing that could have happened to Ignis because he loved it.
It's a bit of a Beavis figure, almost.
Yes. It's funny, too, because it's stat-wise in the game, I believe he has either the lowest intelligence or wisdom at like a 3 or 2, or one of them.
I think that's his charisma that's at 3.
Oh, charisma, sorry.
Yeah, which makes sense when you speak to him. He's awful.
He wants to do nothing but talk about setting everything on fire.
Yeah. He gets quite angry if you speak to him when you speak to your party members. He's just like, no, enough talk, burn, burn, burn.
Yeah, I think he is the most evil party member. And which...
I think he's kind of like beyond, though. I mean, I guess out of all the party members, he is the most immoral, but I guess it's more amoral.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a stake in the adventures of the party. He's just kind of following his old teacher, and he just wants to see everything burn. Yeah. It doesn't matter to him who lives or who dies, as long as everything's on fire. He's content. So, naturally, I did not keep him in my party. I was trying to go for a good playthrough, and he's kind of counterintuitive to that. If you want to have a grand old time, take him to speak with a Mourns for Trees, the man who wishes to bring back life to the smoldering. It goes about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah,
I can to help.
I can imagine. I don't know who else I'd want to help with a forestry issue.
Yeah, exactly. Goodness. Anyways, while we're on the topic of party members, I'd like to talk about the 2, I guess we call them secret party members that you can acquire in this game. Nordrum and Valor are the final 2 party members that you can acquire, and they definitely do take a bit more work to get to.
I miss these guys completely.
Oh yeah, I hate to say it, but if you don't know what to look for, it is very easy to miss them in the game. So Nordrum is found within the Nordrum Cube, which is an item that you pick up from the exotics shop in the Clerk's Ward.
Oh, I've got that.
It's a little puzzle you have to solve to get into it. But it is the first, and I believe only, randomly generated dungeon that's ever existed in BioWare's Infinity Engine. And it is tough. This part gave me more trouble than anything else I've played throughout the game.
Oh, yeah?
And if it wasn't for knowing that a party member waits at the end of it, I wouldn't even bother with it.
I thought that the cube was just a joke, really. I had an excess of coins, so I bought it, and then it was like, oh, it's an action figure with 18 points of articulation. And, you can make it, like, have a fight against invisible adversaries, and then, like, make it talk in a voice and call Mort an idiot. So I figured it was just, like, making fun of that, action figure collection culture. And to a degree it is, but I didn't realize that, like, there's actually a more practical thing that you can do with it in the end.
Oh, yes. Like we said before, it's always the random items that have the strangest uses in this game.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's a member of the Modron race, who are I believe they're lawfully good, but they're basically a hive mind all together. They all think and act on the same wavelength.
Okay.
Except for Nordrum, who his name is actually Modron backwards because he's a backwards Modron. Mm-hmm. He no longer follows into the hive mind. He was just kind of created as an accident. He doesn't really have a place in the world. Following into, the whole party members being tormented. Mm-hmm. And he's voiced by one Dan Castaneda, who is Homer Simpson, as some of you may know.
A man with amazing range.
It's surprising. It does not. I expected more Homery. It was not. I love Nordrum. He's a baby to this world. He's never been connected to his hive mind. He's been trapped in this cube since he was created. So everything he experiences is just brand new to him, and he really tries his best to follow in the footsteps of the Nameless One. And you can actually influence him so much depending on your class and how high you've leveled. And I love him. And then we also have, as the final and literally the last person that you can recruit in this game, Valor, who, stupidly enough, is just kind of hiding behind a portal in the game. Not you have to go into the portal. It's you have to ignore the portal and literally go behind it to acquire him.
Yeah, what's that about? That's peculiar.
I don't know.
Just a little bonus at the end there.
I was not a Western RPG designer in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But Valor is a living suit of armor who refuses to accept that he has died. If Ignis is the epitome of chaos, Valor is the epitome of lawfulness. And that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, really
Valor
not.
is exactly black and white. He actually will not hesitate to kill you if he witnesses you do a crime, or no matter how minuscule it is, or even hearing something about one of your past incarnations.
Oh, really?
He will invoke justice on you.
Okay, that's fun.
Not an easy fight.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been happy with a few things that I did. So
yeah, he's a tough. If you're not specifically lawfully good, he is a tough companion to have, because at least Ignis doesn't care. He's just chaos. Valor is.
He's
Valor's the guy who tells you got to be in bed by 9. No exceptions.
Right.
He has some cool moments, which I'll speak about later on as we continue on the story.
Yeah, please do.
So, at this point, we've been hearing a lot about a woman named Ravel Puzzlewell from many members of the cast. It seems that she has a connection to the Nameless One, in actuality. So, a lot of our main mission here is to find a way to get to her. Because as we've been told, she was, quote-unquote, mazed by the Lady of Pain, who rules over Sigil.
And even then, she's become like the stuff of legends, like a fairy tale to keep naughty children in line. But, we knowing what we know about this world, we know that this probably isn't just a fairy tale.
Yeah, there's no such thing as fairy tales in this world. Everything has a truth to it.
Yeah.
And it's more likely than you think.
Indeed.
So for hints as to Ravel's location, we travel to the Sensates, who are a organization in Sigil who basically gather sensations from people who, more often than not, willingly give up these sensations for others to experience. And there are a lot of cool moments in here, especially when you go looking back through people's memories and what have you. Did you, perchance, go through Dayanara's memories?
I did, yeah. That's a sad old time when you're seeing her longing and her devotion through her eyes, but your current incarnation remembers how manipulative and horrible you were to her, and how her death was pretty much all your fault.
I remember the first time. Yes. I remember the first time I actually experienced that scene, and I had to actually take a break. Because it's so... It's
rough.
It's very rough. For those unawares, basically what you're doing at this moment is going back through a memory of Dayanara, who was a previous incarnation's lover, And while experiencing this memory through her point of view, the Nameless One actually begins to remember the exact moment, but from his previous incarnation's point of view. And the contrast between the two of them is stark and horrible. Because Dayanar just truly loves the Nameless One.
Yeah.
But this previous incarnation cares nothing except for his survival. He is the practical incarnation.
Yeah.
Everything has a reason, and morality does not fall into play for him.
So he's not afraid to say that he loves her when he doesn't care at all.
Yes. He will do anything to further his goals.
Yeah.
Ugh, man, what a guy, that practical incarnation.
Yeah, a lot of our previous incarnations aren't so great.
The paranoid one's entertaining.
Oh, he's fun. Yeah, there's it's fun to see just how different your previous lives were. And I think the paranoid one also has a sensation stone, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I believe he even starts speaking to you through that one because of his paranoia.
He does, yeah.
He believes you're there, and I mean, technically you are.
But he's put himself inside of this sensate stone, and he believes that he's trapped you, and he thinks that he's on the outside and you're on the inside, and you can just have a bit of a conversation with him and be like, I think you kind of messed this up. I think you trapped yourself, buddy, and then just walk away.
Early in this episode, Robert and I were talking about how it's possible to actually be mazed like Ravel in this game, where if you upset the Lady of Pain, or sorry, the Lady of Sigil, she will send you to your own maze. And while you're in there, you actually do discover stuff from the paranoid incarnation.
Oh, yeah?
Which I got you find a journal made of your own skin.
So. We keep picking these up, I find.
Yeah. You have a lot of skin to go around.
Yeah.
And I feel like other RPGs can't say that about their own protagonists.
Yeah. It looks like you've shed a lot of it over the years at the character portrait.
All I'm saying is, show me a Tales game, show me a Final Fantasy game where I can wield my own arm as a weapon, and we'll talk from there, all right?
All right, yeah.
Continuing on with Ravel's quest. So we do find one of the Sensate Stones where we actually do get to, for a moment, speak with Ravel and find our way of getting to her. And that is requiring a piece of her, which we... how would you explain it, how this part goes about? Because the connections in my brain are kind of hard to make.
I briefly want to mention that this Sensate Stone, where you converse with Ravel, it's like you're a victim of hers on the table, and she's breaking through the recorded routine to speak to you directly, but you're like being dissected on a table while she's talking to you, and you're talking to each other, and she's just like digging around in you and cutting limbs off, and so like her actions are following this script, but she's breaking this dialogue of the script to say like, oh well, find a bit of me, it is out there. And that's when I think that gives you the hint that you need that she has a child somewhere. And there are rumors swirling that this child may be one of the brothel workers.
And these rumors turn out to be true.
As they do in this game.
Yes. But yes, we do get the chance to actually meet Ravel's daughter. And with a drip of her blood that requires some convincing to get... in whichever way you want your Nameless One to convince her.
I ended up doing like the whole chain of brothel deals, which ended up with me killing somebody. The creator of Delora, the artificial brothel worker, I didn't care for him very much, so I didn't want to do his quest. So I was going to steal some keys from him, and he caught me stealing, and I ended up killing him, and then having to. Now every time I go to the clerk's ward, I have to outrun the guards.
Just like in any real life D&D game, the only solution to being caught stealing is to just murder everything in sight.
It seemed like it was. Well, that tipped the scales for chaotic good for me. So
gotcha.
Fair enough.
That's when the achievement pops up, and you're like, got it.
Yeah. But yeah, so you have to convince her to give a bit of her blood. I mean, you have to even convince her that Ravel is her mother because she doesn't want to believe that. So that takes some doing. And so then you've got your key. You just need to find the door.
Man, some of these quests, like the first time I played it, just stumped me. It's like, all right, I've got the item. Now where?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do here. I needed to look things up. So
yeah. See, I had the same problem when I played Baldur's Gate back in the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Where it's just something about these late 90s Western RPGs. I just have the hardest time following along with what the game wants me to do. Like, I feel like I need a guide.
Yeah, and this was kind of before the quest log, really. I mean, Torment has one. It's kind of useless. But...
Yeah. It's your journal, which is constantly being updated.
Yeah.
If you've been playing for 5 minutes and you haven't heard, updated my journal. Within that 5 minutes, you're playing it wrong.
Big into scrapbooking, our nameless ones.
I would love it if you just opened up and there's just like crayon drawings and stickers.
Dear
it's
diary.
Like, me and Mort had fun today.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, at this point, we get to meet Ravel. Now, what were your thoughts on this whole experience with her? Because there are some very interesting ways that the conversation can go. It always ends in a fight. I will tell you that much.
Okay, I thought that it might always end in a fight, which I thought was a little unfortunate. But it's a big point. You know, she is, no matter who she is swayed by what has happened here. She's interesting because what you hear about Ravel is that she's like the greatest evil that Sigil has ever known, and she was going to, you know, unleash the gates of hell to overrun the city just because she's that black-hearted and evil. And so she was mazed by the lady for doing so. But when you actually meet her, she's other. She's other in a way, kind of like Ignis, not quite as malevolent. I would not call her evil. In fact, the Nameless One owes her a big apology, really.
Yes.
So she is, she's a daffy old lady with incredible powers who can't stand to see people enslaved or trapped. So she wanted to set a Lady of Pain, the ruler of Sigil, free, and which I think that involves making Sigil vanish because it's just one big sigil, and she was mazed for her efforts. And the previous incarnation of the Nameless One, knowing that Ravel had these powers, went to her maze and like sweet talked her and seduced her, and was saying like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," to manipulate her into granting him immortality.
Yep, that's right. This is where the immortality comes from.
Yeah, and so she's doing some nasty things as well. I mean, she's like tormenting people because of her love for the Nameless One, and trying to get an answer of what's inside. Well, what's inside someone's soul is what can change the nature of a man is her famous riddle, and she wants to find out what can change the nature of any individual person. It's not really a riddle; it's just like, what is the meaning of life? Tell me your reason. Mm-hmm. And those who don't answer honestly get a lifetime of getting chopped up, like her sensei. You know what? Maybe she is evil. But anyway, you were a bit of a bigger bastard and manipulated her hook, line, and sinker into granting your little wish.
Yes,
I felt bad for her.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But what was she gonna do out in the world? Still, it's kind of like this monster's been contained. She's not necessarily doing bad things, but the potential for her to do bad.
She didn't really have a desire to be out of her cage anyway.
Yeah, no, she's pretty content with her life. Until you come back around.
Oh, yeah.
So, this whole conversation with Ravel is really where things begin to break down for some of the backstory. It's where we learn about our immortality, how we had been there once before with Ravel to acquire these things, some more information on previous incarnations, what have you. And the shape of this conversation is really influenced by how well you treat Ravel. Like, the nicer you are to her, the better rewards you can actually acquire. Like, you can get at least a dozen different stat boosts just from this conversation alone, what she can teach you.
And this is also where you find out that she assumed form. She managed to, like, astral project to be Marta in the underground village, or the lady with the needle and thread in the mortuary. Basically, she assumes the form of, like, these kind of, like, bizarre surgical women who seem to be operating on, like, a different level of consciousness. So, seeing that these ladies who you meet, I think there's 3 of them who are all, like, quite similarly bizarre, as they're all actually shades of Ravel watching over you on your journey.
Yes, the third one is actually Mabeth, who teaches you how to become a mage in the game, which I find is a cool little thing, especially as someone who played a mage the first time, discovering that, it's been it's been Ravel all along, guiding us down this path. So, I remember this fight being pretty tough too.
It is tough. She's got some real protection and some nasty spells.
And you did it with less party members than I did.
Yeah.
So without the healer too.
Yeah, I probably should have just allowed Falls from Grace to come along, but what can you do? Didn't want to upset Anna.
Right. She's a little bit of, like, the vanilla ice cream of the party, but those healing powers are pretty nice. So after defeating Ravel, we have to make an escape from her maze, and with a piece of Ravel's hair, we actually open up a portal to the Outlands of Cursed. And it's here, in this moment, that we get a glimpse of our true evil of this game, the Transcendent One.
Wow, what a jerk this guy is.
Yes. So, should we talk... I say we save the Transcendent One's truth for more towards the end.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, the Transcendent One is basically this evil that has been sending out... has actually been responsible for killing the Nameless One most of these times. He's the reason for your amnesia and everything. And randomly throughout the game, I'm not sure how many times you encountered it, but random shadows will attack you.
Yeah, I think if you stand idle for long enough, they come for you. I think it's like a timer kind of thing like that, if you're not paused. I think, because that's when I noticed, like, if I was just idling and doing something else, I soon found that I was being ganged up on by a bunch of shadows.
Yeah, they're very much a surprise to me. And we also get to witness them in a few cutscenes. For example, the, I guess, most previous death of the Nameless One before Anna discovers us and sends us to the morgue. And also in the death of Farod.
Yeah, they bump him off, don't they?
Yeah. Which, did you go back to his place? Check out his treasures?
I've been meaning to. I failed to do so before recording. I'd forgotten.
So you actually get some very nice treasures and some specific story-related items that can enhance the end game.
I missed so much.
I know.
I like that. I like that fast travel opened up around the time of the Clerk's Ward.
Yes, it is by far the most helpful thing in this game, because not having fast travel at the beginning, I feel really deters a lot of newer players. I've had trouble convincing friends to play, just because they felt it's so arduous just to constantly travel back and forth. But at this point in the game, we're actually leaving Sigil for a while. This is where we end up in Cursed. Now, I know you were talking about how excited you were to explore more of the planes.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. So, what'd you think? I believe, and I apologize so much if I say this wrong, but I believe Cursed is the lawful good area of the planes. I may be wrong. I apologize if I am, listeners.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty desolate. It's it's a fun sort of, like, I don't know, almost like deserty outpost style to, in contrast to Sigil's constantly shifting hustle and bustle.
Yes, it's one of the border towns on the planes, actually. So it resides on the very edge of literal alignment, which comes very much into play later in the game.
Yeah, what a weird thing.
It's like, can you imagine how horrible it would be if you were just in your house, all of a sudden, like, you go out and you're like, what's wrong? And it's like, oh, Tommy down the street decided that he doesn't want to play with his friends anymore, so he's gotten more chaotic. So now we all have to be more chaotic. I would not want to live on these planes. Yeah. I've said it once. I'll say it again. This is a terrible world.
Yeah,
I don't want to be here. So our main mission in Cursed is to find Trius, who can point us in the direction of our mortality. Mm-hmm. So Trius is kept in a prison, and this is one of those places where I had an annoying time too. Anytime where a lot of encounters get forced onto us, I don't have a good time. And I hate to say it, but if there was less fighting in this game, it would just be so much better.
Oh yeah, because I don't find it fun personally, but
no.
I don't really have, because I haven't played very many of these. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the Infinity Engine combat system, but yeah, it's just not for me, really. I think if there were less encounters, and maybe if they were something more along the lines of the early Fallout games, I would probably have more fun with it. But that would be something else entirely. I think Torment Tides of Numenera handles it that way, but also you don't have to get in any battles in that game if you don't want to, aside from the very first one.
Even playing as a mage, every time I go into battle and scroll through my available spells, my brain would stop working, and I'd just stare at an icon and be like, what does this one do again? I hope it's damage, and I cast it, and it's like, nope, everyone's a little faster.
Yeah, it's very very late 90s opaque.
Yeah, all while being pummeled by demons. Mm-hmm. Which is a recurring theme for me, actually, in the second part of this game. Non-stop demon pummeling.
I just tried to run away as much as I could, really, which probably wasn't the thing to do, but I mean, you really do seem to get most of your experience from quests here.
So, Trius, fallen angel that we discover in the Cursed Prison. What do you think of this guy? Seems pretty trustworthy, right? Like he would never lie to us?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, being a fallen angel must have been an accident. Like, I'm sure it was a big misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's deep down just a sweet guy at heart.
Yeah, and he's friends with Ravel, isn't he? Is that right?
I think it's more it's more of an acquaintance thing, if you will.
Well, still company.
He's got a great friend actually in one of the demon worlds we get to discover in a little bit.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, Fujil. He's an entertaining character.
Yeah.
So we end up freeing Trius from his binds in the Cursed Prison, which turns out not to be one of our better decisions in the game.
Yeah, not at all.
So Trius, who's been kept prisoner, claims that he does not know where the Nameless One's mortality lies. He definitely sends us off on more of a quest, and actually sends us to the Outlands, where we discover a very interesting character, one of my favorites, Fujil, who is a demon that is I believe, chaotic evil, but because of a promise that he made to Trius, is forced to be good. And he lets you know how genuinely painful it is for him to be nice to you. Just being nice to you is the worst thing that he can imagine.
He's a real pissed off good boy. Yeah.
He's so... Like, just talking to him and being like, saying, can me and my party rest here? He's like, sure, why not? Take my bed, why don't you? Like, you just know that the second he's free, he will gladly murder you.
Yeah.
And everything else around him.
Yeah.
But he actually helps you figure out a way to get to Bator, where one of, I'd argue, the more unsettling characters, if you will, of this game lies. The Tower of Skulls.
Yeah, this thing is horrible. I love it.
Pillar of Skulls, my apologies. So, it's reminding me of a myth, kind of like this thing will tell you anything that you want to know, but at a horrible price each time. I'm sure there's a myth like that somewhere in the world. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of Monkey's Paw-esque, but you're looking for information rather than wishes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But the prices that he requires are pretty rough. So, did you actually sell him the Modron Cube since you had it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing that you can give to him.
Yeah,
because
I didn't want to do the alternative of, you know, possibly like putting Mort back, you know?
Yes. Oh my. Oof, man. You want to know what the worst part about putting Mort back is? You can pull him out again. And he is like, he's not okay, but I can't put into words just like this fun-loving skull that's always been wisecracking throughout our entire adventure. After pulling him out from the Pillar of Skulls again is just, he's broken. That's the best word. Mentally, he's broken. That's the best thing I can say.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. And you can throw one of your potential lovers, Anna or Falls from Grace, into there as well, because why not? Why do you care?
Yeah, I guess maybe a previous incarnation would have done so.
Oh, absolutely. Or a potential modern incarnation.
Yeah, if you want to walk that path again.
Oh man, I'm just being bad makes me feel bad.
Yeah, that's too much for me.
That's all I can say about that. But so the Pillar of Skulls, basically one of the things you can ask, and the most important thing you can ask the Pillar of Skulls, is how do you get into the Fortress of Regrets? I'm not sure if it's told at this point exactly. It kind of blurred for me at the end. But the Fortress of Regrets is our end game. It is where our mortality lies. It is where we need to go to find out the truth behind the Nameless One. And the Pillar of Skulls tells us that Trius has lied to us. And he does know how to get there. Who would have thought that a fallen angel would break our hearts like this?
Yeah, who's a fallen angel who's locked up in the law planes for
I'm sure it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So with vengeance in our hearts, we decide to head back to Cursed, and things have changed for the worst. Hey.
Oh yeah, they have.
So like I mentioned before, Cursed borders on the edge of a plane, like a literal plane of existence between these worlds. And once the alignment of the peoples of this plane have changed enough, this town actually gets sucked into the other plane, which is not a pleasant procedure.
And this is what they call the prison plane, correct?
Yes. So there's one cool thing that I did like about this specific moment. So our goal here is to get back to Trius, find out how to get into the Fortress of Regrets, and also kind of stop all this madness that's happening. On the way towards Trius, there's actually a couple of tiny side quests that you can do to help shift the alignment of this town.
Try to shift it back up out of the mire.
Yes, and by doing so, you actually manage to weaken Trius' hold. Like, literally in his boss battle, he will become a weaker character. And that was a cool little thing that I liked.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that it was thrown towards us near the very end of the game, but I liked it.
Yeah, I like it.
I like the alignment play that these games have. And Trius, that poor unfortunate soul. How'd that boss fight go towards you? Because for Mage Nameless One, I was throwing out level 9 spells at this point and getting it over with.
not fun. Mostly just me healing myself and letting everybody else go to town on him.
Right.
And, hurriedly quick slotting needles and threads and clot charms to heal my guys as and when. I probably should have been playing like Priest or something instead of just this messy item using role that I was playing. It wasn't good.
It's unfortunate though, because you actually cannot be a priest in this game.
Okay, right.
It makes me sad, but the lore explanations that I've heard from people make sense that basically the Nameless One has done so many things.
Yeah, you're kind of too far gone, really.
Yeah, that every god has forsaken him. So,
yeah, it would make sense. Like, I didn't find any way to change to priest. I just, I found the items, but I guess they're party member exclusive.
Yeah, they tease it towards you. Like, you even have a priest spellbook.
That you do. Come on.
It's definitely a little bit of a tease.
Maybe it was cut.
That I could see that happening. I mean, I understand the lore reasons I've heard from fans and what have you, but I wouldn't be surprised if it had just gotten cut in the long run. It would have been very nice to play a healer. But there's some charm about sticking a needle and thread into your arm in the middle of battle.
Oh, that's fun.
To keep yourself going,
or into your friend's arm,
or
into Mort's skull.
Man, many questions about Mort that I still wonder.
Yeah.
So Trius' fate is actually left in our hands after the battle. You have the choice to just flat out kill him, or you can actually attempt to have him redeem himself. How did this go for you? I want to know, Rob.
I had enough of Trius' baloney, and I ended up killing him. It was one of the few characters that I killed.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I believe. Did you get the Celestial Sword that way?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. I think that's one of the best weapons in the game, but I believe you have to be a lawful character to wield it.
Yeah, I wasn't able to use it, but I did have it. I had a lot of things that I couldn't use.
Sorry, this is actually I mentioned before how certain events are different with Valor. This is one of those times where no matter what you do, Valor will kill Trius.
Okay, yeah, I bet.
He doesn't play.
Yeah.
There is no gray area for Valor. It is pure black and white. All right, but from Trius, we discover that our destination has been in the mortuary all this time. Which is...
Yeah, what a surprise.
I know. It always kind of makes me laugh when I see it in video games where it's like the final place is just the first place all over again.
I tend to like it when it's nicely done. I liked it I like that kind of thing in... Well, I liked it here. I thought it wrapped things up in a nice little... Because, you're doing this circle of death and rebirth and, coming full circle on your quest as well. I thought it was a nice touch. I liked it in Breath of Fire too, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, what if it's done nicely and like alludes to, okay, there's something happening here, you don't know what it is, but we got to move on and get the plot going, and then going back to see what that's all about. That works on me.
Yeah.
It worked on me very well here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the Nameless One really gains that he needs to enter the Fortress of Regret is just how to open the portal, which is simply writing a regret onto paper and throwing it into the sky. Like, if we had just known this, we could have just turned around right at the beginning and done it. We would have been killed instantly, but...
Yeah.
The Fortress of Regret... Okay, so... I feel like this is probably one of the more emotional points of the game. It's because we really see the personal story of the Nameless One come to such a good conclusion. Yeah. And also, with our companions, we get to see some great shining moments. So, in the Fortress of Regret, it's similar to a maze, basically. We're going throughout activating these machines and teleporting different areas in the fortress. And almost each time that we activate one of these machines, we get a glimpse of one of our companions who's been separated from us. And they alone encounter the Transcendent One and basically give an amazing speech and then go down swinging. These were some of my favorite moments in the game. And it makes me sad that you didn't get Falls from Grace, because she has a moment here.
Yeah, and I really should have, but...
So, some of them basically have, like, the characters uttering a motto, like Dakin talks about how he's agreed to follow the Nameless One to the end, what have you.
Yeah.
Falls from Grace, like the second the Transcendent One starts talking, she just blasts him with magic. You just go, shut up and fight. Like, your healer is the one to go on the offensive. And I'm like, I loved her.
Just doesn't have time for it.
Kind of played favorites with her over Anna, but...
Yeah.
What have you. And we both have the same thing here, actually. One of your mini-bosses is actually either Valor or Ignis. And this depends on which of the two of them are still alive and what your alignment is.
It's alignment, right?
Yeah, basically, if you've been playing like a good to neutral character, you'll be fighting Ignis. But if you're an evil little guy, Valor's coming to town for you.
So it was interesting to have to go up against Ignis, and how I suppose like you'd probably not fight either of them if you didn't bring them along. I'm not sure how it would articulate.
It's interesting because in my personal playthrough this time, I did not kill Ignis, but I had left him behind in the hive, and he still appears to fight you.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if you just never interacted with him at all, what would happen?
That's interesting too, because I mean, it's possible to have no interactions with Ignis or Valor.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible for them to just not appear in your game. So I'm not 100% sure what happens at that event. It might just be an empty room, or
one for
maybe a tiny mob, or what have you.
One for a repeat playthrough, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. One of these days, I'll try a minimalist playthrough. Like, no side quests, as little companions as possible. It's just going to be more run. That's it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about our friends that we meet in the Fortress of Regret, specifically our previous incarnations.
Yeah, you finally get to meet these people whose actions you've heard about, and especially you finally get to meet the Paranoid Boy again.
The Paranoid Boy is a very interesting fellow when he comes face to face. So when encountering your previous incarnations, there's basically two ways that your interactions can end with them. You're either going to kill them, or you're going to merge and form an even stronger Nameless One. And that merging takes a little bit of time, especially with the Paranoid and practical incarnations.
I think you can mess up here too, can't you? I think you can sort of like lose a dice roll if your stats aren't high enough, and when you
that is correct.
It's like Saga Frontier with Blue and Rouge.
Specifically, what you're speaking of specifically is with the practical incarnation.
Correct. Yeah.
So basically, he knows about the whole being able to merge into the same Nameless One, and because he's the evil boy, he is basically saying, all right, I'm going to take you over. If I believe it's a wisdom check, and you need above 20 wisdom to do this.
I had 20 wisdom and I failed, so it must be like 21.
Yeah. But basically, if you fail, like Robert said, the Paranoid incarnation takes you over, and you lose. Good day, sir.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, so if all else fails, just start swinging, basically, in this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to do that there.
Yeah. He's a tough one. But you also get to meet the good incarnation, or the first incarnation.
This poor guy.
Yeah. Basically, the good incarnation is the reason all of this is happening. It's never explained what it is. It's never explained how or why. All we know is that the good incarnation did something so horrible, so evil and abhorrent, that he chose to seek to live forever just for the chance to atone for this sin. Like, what is it? It's never explained.
I mean, it's almost better that it's never explained, but that's really tantalizing.
I know, it's I want more, but
yeah.
It's been 20 years. I'm highly doubting it.
Like anything that they would say, it just wouldn't live up to
That's fair.
your imagination, really. So, I'm fine. I'm fine with not knowing, but it is such a tease.
Oh God, there's another moment just like that. And this one is annoying returning, but basically, before you enter into the Fortress of Regret, if you go back to Farad's and pick up the bronze sphere that you had to hunt for him,
stinky sphere.
Yes, take it with you into the Fortress of Regrets. In the room where you encounter the incarnations, after dealing with all of them, you actually acquire the knowledge to open the sphere.
Oh.
And within that sphere is your name.
Oh.
Yes, the nameless one discovers his name, but we don't. Yes, all the game says after you open it is like, huh, and it was so simple after all this time. It's like, what was it?
I thought something must have been up with that nasty sphere, and I felt like, oh, just handing it over to Farad, that can't be the end of that. I'm glad to hear that it wasn't. That's very fun.
Yeah, it gives you an experience boost, which is kind of negligible at this point in the game, but it's like worth. It's either 2 or 20 million. There's a zero. I'm not sure in my head.
Yeah,
but it is
just that finale.
So, technical thing. The Nameless One has an auto-regenerating health based on his constitution. After that point, I just started pouring all my points into constitution, and the Nameless One refused to die. It was...
That's a good way to handle the end game, I think.
It was so fantastic. Which leads us to our final boss. The Transcendent One. Who... surprise, surprise, is the Nameless One's mortality.
Yeah.
Now, there are lots of different ways that this can go down. And I'd like to hear from you, Robert, how exactly you handled the Transcendent One.
Well, I ended up using Ravel's question back on him. And I ended up unmaking him, like by convincing him. Because I think this is kind of hinted at that you've done this to somebody else in one of the. I want to say it's one of the Sensate stones, or it's just no, it's not a Sensate stone. It's a memory that bubbles up,
That's right.
where you. It's like a party trick. You convince somebody in your past that they don't exist. Through your powers of debate, and when they can't come up with a rebuttal to prove without a shadow of a doubt that you're wrong, they cease to exist. How did I would have never expected that this memory, which is a great bit anyway, would be like a hint on how things can shake out against the final boss. To just like convince it that it doesn't exist anymore.
I don't believe in you.
Yeah. Well, you gotta go.
And it really does harken back to Ravel's question, what can change the nature of a man?
Yeah.
And I believe the answer that's given many times is belief.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in somebody in this world, then they just don't exist. Actually,
it's pretty good.
Because you played a chaotic boy.
I did.
Did you lie about your name at all? Whenever people would ask you who you are?
Sometimes.
Just give them a fake one?
Sometimes, not all the time. I was giving out the name Adan every so often.
Yes.
They give you that name pretty early on. Yeah, so I used that when I felt like, I'm going to play this shady.
Yes.
Other times I was straight up with people, but not always.
If you keep using the name Adon and using it, Adon will appear.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's smoldering corpse bar, and he's like, I don't know who I am, how I got here, or anything. I just started being. Like, this guy.
That's awesome.
All right, so this was... A lot of this game was just very mind-blowing to college-aged Keegan, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it still works so well.
I know, it's still like, wow. But like, for 20-year-old Keegan, like, what even is life, man? Like, whoa, belief can change the world! Like, I love this game so much.
So how did it shake out for you this time?
So I actually threatened to kill the Transcendent one with a weapon that can unmake anything.
Okay.
So going back to the lower wards, you said you discovered how to get into the siege tower, correct?
I did, yeah.
So you discovered the giant iron golem.
I sure did.
I believe it's pronounced Coxmetal.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, some of the pronunciations of this game still give me trouble to this day.
And he's he's like the agent of entropy, and he's like, there must always be war. I will make weapons for war. We will kill the wind with our weapons.
Yes, and
he's quite a guy.
That's all he does. You can actually free him late in the game, and it's the most statistically evil thing you can do.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You give him the Modron, disappears into it to who knows where.
Ooh,
that is a left open question. There's so many different ways that this can turn out. Okay, so when you chose to not believe in the Transcendent one, did you stop and choose to merge, or did you continue on?
I continued on.
Okay, so you did get rid of them then.
I did, yeah. I was done.
Yeah, that's it's a definite power move that you can pull. But a lot of these events can lead you to merging with the Transcendent one and gaining ridiculous amounts of power.
Well, not that you need him at that point, but I guess it's like an epilogue, right?
It's not an end game use, but it's lore wise shows off the power. For example, when you encounter the Transcendent one for the first time, basically the rest of your party is dead on the floor in front of you. Once you have the Transcendent one's power, you can actually just revive everybody.
Oh, whoops.
Yes.
That would have been nice.
Did you just cut your losses and be like, I'll miss you, gang?
Kind of, yeah.
Well then, it's a lonely journey onwards.
Yeah, I guess so.
But, before we talk about specific endings, I want to talk about fighting the Transcendent one, which is very interesting because through the use of charisma and wit and what have you, the Transcendent one will actually allow you to revive one of your teammates to fight him. There's some interesting choices that you can do here. First off is if you choose to revive Mort, the Transcendent one just tells you he's not dead. It turns out Mort has been faking it this entire time to stay out of fights.
That's
so
our Mort.
picking him will actually let you choose another one. The nameless will be like, that doesn't count. Not dead. So of course, the two biggest ones I think that introduce some cool things are reviving Dakon or reviving Valor if you have him.
Okay.
So when you revive Dakon as a sweet little callback to you talking about his past and how he'll serve you until the death of both your days, you can be like, Dakon, this is the moment. This is the day of two deaths. And it gives Dakon a crazy boost of power.
Awesome.
Because his resolve is just there.
Let's make it happen.
You guys go to town, That's the buddy-buddy system. Or you revive Valor and be like, hey, you know how there's a lot of strife and injustice in the world? He did it.
This is the guy.
Yeah. Valor's strength gets capped at, I believe, 30 just from saying that. You don't need to help. Valor will go to town on his own. He's a great bonus to lawful good characters.
An unstoppable machine, yeah.
He is. Oh man. But so after whichever way you choose to deal with the Transcendent one, then we get our ending. I'm curious to hear about how the ending played out for you, because I know mine was definitely different. Because I chose to merge with the Transcendent one.
Yeah. God, I kind of breezed through this, I gotta admit, which is not the thing to do. Give me a minute.
Of course. So I'll speak about mine right now. So after merging with the Transcendent one, the Nameless One gains a ton of power. And he also, because of his merging, is basically now marked for his crimes. Like, there's no avoiding the evil that he's done anymore. He will now have to pay for it. And in his last moments, after reviving all of his teammates, he basically gives them, a final farewell. And they give some horribly sweet moments, like Anna is crying, talking about how she doesn't want you to go. Dakon's like swears that he'll find a way to come and help you. Like, it's all very sweet accumulations.
Yeah.
Of all their personal stories towards the Nameless One. And at the end, the Nameless One is transported off to the lower planes into the great blood war that gets mentioned over and over again.
Yeah.
And the last shot we see is of him picking up a mace and rushing into battle. So, kind of
that's where we
a
all
downer,
go.
But also kind of like, it's bittersweet. He's accepting what he's done, and he's going to make his amends, no matter how much of an eternity it takes in this endless war.
Funnily enough, the ending pretty much played out the same for me, but without the support of my party members, because they were all dead. But with
so you got the sad ending then?
Yeah, it was a sad ending, but with my mortality gone, there was really nothing else for me to do but to walk back into the blood war as well. So I guess things can really they all lead to that kind of conclusion, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like there's another way, but I'm just not 100% sure. Because like I've said, I've never played a genuinely evil character in this game.
Yeah, I wonder.
But with this, our time in the plains has come to an end.
Yeah, I think we've done it.
Oh, man. Robert, so what do you think about this adventure?
This remains one of the most unique RPGs that I've ever played. It was nice to... I think it's probably like the only 90s... no, I've beaten the first two Fallout games, but okay, it's one of the very few pre-2000s Western RPGs that I've played to completion, and it's a very, very unique one. I mentioned in the previous episode that I thought the writing was top-notch, and that didn't change. The quality of the writing stayed consistently good from start to finish. And just the amount of creativity and how other this world is, I think is pretty astounding. So I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to play through it with you, Keegan.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. This is
very much.
This is one of those games that I always try to convince my friends to play, which is unfortunate because a lot of my friends aren't big RPG players.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're much more on I'm a big fighter and shooter game fan also, so they're more on that spectrum.
I mean,
but
it does take a little goodwill to get into in 2018, but once you're there and you're there for all of the reams and reams and reams of text, it's a very rewarding experience and one worth taking.
It's similar to me of giving somebody your favorite book and just waiting patiently to hear back from them about certain events. It's like, oh, this is going to happen soon. I don't want to spoil it, but and that's what this game is, like a favorite book to me.
It basically is, yeah.
I want people to experience it because I think it tells a story that you don't get to see in any other, form of media or what have you. I feel like this only really works as a video game, as putting us into the mind of this character.
Yeah, I would argue that's absolutely correct. And having those options to walk a detestable path, even if you're not going to take them, just seeing that is that is within this character's remit, I think is valuable.
It reminds me of those intrusive thoughts that everybody gets. It's like, God, why would I ever do that?
Yeah, it's like Artaud's Antonin Artaud's Theater of Cruelty, where it was stage performances based on those thoughts as a way of bringing a Dianistic improv out of people, and I think this game is kind of an exercise in that in some ways.
Oh yeah, You definitely see that happening. And I wish we had more of a straight sequel to follow through with this, but we do still have a Torment Tides of Numenera, which I've yet to play through, but I hear is a solid spiritual successor.
I've got it. I've started it. The general consensus seems to be that it doesn't quite stack up, but like the world doesn't seem as nasty. It's just weird. It's very like kind of advanced. It seems almost a little utopic, but I'm very, very early on. So I couldn't say, but it doesn't have quite the same vibe of weirdness, but it is still pretty weird. So I would think that it's probably worth picking up, but I can't really say one way or the other until I get out of the first area. So
I definitely think I'll be, now that I've got Planescape in my heart, I definitely think I'll be checking it out soon. Now the memories are fresh.
Yeah.
I just want more.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by it.
So. All right, folks. Well, this has been Retro Encounter. So glad to have you join us. If you liked what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe. Can you comment on podcast things?
You can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would be nice.
Ooh, yeah. Please do that. We would absolutely love it. So coming up for Retro Encounter, we do have our month of Zelda coming. I'm very excited for this one. I wish I could have joined on personally for some of the podcasts, but time-wise, it just wasn't looking out.
Yeah, my time is very limited at the moment, so unfortunately I won't be on those either, but they are going to be very, very fun. I look forward to hearing them from the sidelines.
Oh, absolutely. And we also do have our special Super Nintendo encounter coming up soon. I believe that'll be dropping next week, actually. So please, folks, keep an ear out for that. I promise you it's going to be arguably one of our best episodes we've ever had.
I would think so.
Yes. Keyword, arguably. All right. So, Rob, where can people find you on the internet? How can we get in contact with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Misanthrobob. It's probably the best place to find me these days. That's about it. I guess I'm on Discord. I don't really know how to use Discord because I'm an old Luddite. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter. We'll talk games and cats and stuff.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'm a younger guy and I still don't understand Discord. So.
Okay, well, yeah, that does make me feel better. Thank you.
Don't worry, we're in the same boat.
Yeah. As you pick the lie option.
It's called Bluff, thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah.
If you'd like to get in contact with me, I am Kaylee Brand on Twitter. I'm most responsive on there. Please stop by. Tell me what you think of the episodes. I'd love to hear back from people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, all right, folks, thank you so much, and we hope to see you again soon.
All right, see you later.